Welcome to the 8th edition of World Intellectual Property Forum.
A big hello to everyone who has joined us virtually today. We all know one thing for sure, that artificial intelligence is the future, and it is fast becoming a part of our everyday lives, from the way we work, shop, travel, and for that matter, even the way we interact with each other. Artificial intelligence, the AI, is expanding in many industries, and many organizations, both public and private sectors, have invested substantial resources in AI research and development. Even while the global pandemic has diminished the economic growth, we see that the focus continues on maximizing AI to address COVID-19 and other important needs. I am Dikshitha Karkera, working as an IP professional in Siemens IP department. Today, I'm incredibly proud, moderating this panel discussion on best practices of protecting AI inventions. Did you know patenting activity for AI and machine learning based application has steadily increased in the last few years? In fact, the number of AI-based patent publication nearly doubled in 2018 and 2019 as compared to the previous years. The most dominant feature of AI is machine learning, and it has been mentioned in more than 40% of all AI-related patent filed worldwide. According to WIPO, the most predominant AI functional application has been filed in top three fields, that is telecommunication, transportation, and life and medical science. In the next few minutes, we will get to hear from our wonderful panelists on how AI-based inventions has an impact on our businesses, best practices in protecting AI invention, and also let's see here the challenges that they have faced. So let me begin introducing our panelists to you. We have our first panelist here, Ms. Vandana Prabhu. She's the team lead and IP counsel in Siemens India. Vandana manages IP portfolio related to software and system innovation, IoT solution, digital health, and medical imaging. Vandana, you could say hi to our audience here.
Hello, everyone.
Our second panelist here is Ms. Shruti Patwardhan, IP counsel, having 7 years of experience in handling matters related to intellectual property in various jurisdictions. She mainly handles IP portfolio in the field of electrification, autonomous vehicle, and building automation. Shruti, you could say hi.
Hello, everybody.
Welcome, Shruti. Finally, our third speaker in the panel today is Ms. Sminu, IP professional in Siemens India. She manages the IP for intelligent rail and road solution, simulation and digital twin in Siemens India.
Hi, everyone.
Yes. Okay. Now, jumping into our discussion for today's topic. Okay, Vandana, I understand in Siemens you handle inventions right from harvesting involved in decision making and then taking it forward for patenting these inventions. When it comes to harvesting inventions, can you tell us your experience in identifying AI-based inventions in your day-to-day work?
Yes, thank you, Dikshitha. So my point of view when it comes to harvesting AI inventions is that for every organization, there is a need for a well-defined IP strategy. I feel that a well-defined IP strategy provides clarity on what type of inventions are important for an organization and what are not. So having a very clear understanding of which invention should make its way forward for patenting and which not is really important. And I think the IP team in that respect plays a very important role in defining what is important for the organization. One other factor when it comes to having a well-defined IP strategy is the aspect associated with AI-based inventions, that is of detectability. So since many AI inventions may have an underlying concern of not being detectable when implemented in a product, I think a having an IP strategy associated with these AI inventions will enable effective identification of which form of IP protection works out the best. Perhaps certain AI inventions can be patented, some of them can remain as trade secret, so on and so forth. So I think having that sort of clarity in the beginning itself provides a good support in harvesting quality AI inventions and then taking them forward accordingly. Another aspect that comes to my mind is having, well-structured IP measures that can be implemented on the ground with the businesses. There can be several IP measures that can be planned for harvesting AI inventions. First and foremost thing that comes to my mind is having certain landscape studies conducted to identify what sort of white spaces are existing in the technical field of interest. This is particularly because AI inventions are mostly incremental in nature, and that is why it may so happen that the inventions that are generated may somehow end up being very close to what our competitors are also having. So I think a prior understanding of what gaps are available in the technical field of interest is really important. And once you have a understanding of this, then you can then the IP team can definitely go forward with having certain workshops which support generation of IP. And particularly as an organization at Siemens, what we have also followed as a process is identifying effectively what exactly is the unique selling proposition or USP associated with the invention. So when I talk about USP, it could be the kind of value that those inventions generate for the business. It could be long-term value, it could be a short-term value, and this gives a very clear perspective on whether or not such inventions make sense to be taken forward in terms of patent protection. So this point of view of conducting workshops in based on the concept of what value it brings forth to the business is really important. One more point that I want to address here, this is based on the experience that we've had in the organization, is about the IP team acting as a trusted partner to the business. Since it may so happen that there are several sets of inventions that are generated by the by the inventors or the employees, which may revolve around use of AI models. I think it is very important for the IP team to closely integrate with the business to effectively enable the effectively identify this IP at the right point in time, and ask fundamental questions to the inventors. These fundamental questions can revolve around identifying what exactly is the technical advantage that is brought out by the AI model. Perhaps it is pertinent to understand whether the invention can function efficiently even without implementing these AI models. So when such questions are asked, I think it also gives something to the inventors to think about. Probably it also initiates that thought process in the minds of the inventors to dig a little deeper and understand what exactly is the purpose that the AI models are serving in the kind of inventions that we are planning to harvest. One additional factor would be to also understand whether the invention is well defined, or if there is a scope of improvement. Is it holistic in nature, or are there any loose ends which require addressing? So I think if the IP team gets very well integrated with the business, I think such questions can be answered well in advance, and that sets a very strong base for the IP professionals to take the inventions forward efficiently at the drafting and prosecution stage. And of course, there is a criteria of patentability of such inventions. Needless to say, I think these are also some of the factors which are required to be considered when it comes to harvesting of AI inventions. So yeah, these are my points.
Yeah. Yeah, all right. Thank you, Vandana. So you see, a good strategy is very important when it comes to picking up inventions. I also hear you saying, yes, yeah. I also hear you saying that it is very important for an IP professional to work as a partner to inventors. Maybe Sminu, I would like to ask you if you have any experience to share when it comes to interacting with inventors during the early stage of invention harvesting, I can say.
Yeah, firstly, it may be interesting to know that AI goes back to the 1950s, while the data-driven AI that we know of today came into existence in the early 1990s. But now the AI space is becoming crowded, I would say, that it is slowly transitioning from a disruptive technology to an incremental technology, as Vandana had already pointed out. So I think it's important that inventors are made aware of this aspect. So inventors would typically, when writing invention disclosures, they would typically describe the AI model as a black box without giving out much information on how the AI model actually works. And this would have been completely okay if it were a few years ago when AI was still a new technology. But this approach will not work now. So we as patent attorneys need to put in more effort in understanding from the inventor on how the AI model works. Basically, how can you convert this black box model to a white box model? So during harvesting, I would typically ask the inventors to write the invention disclosure in as much detail as possible. I typically ask them to focus on specific use cases and examples. I would also encourage them to include information on the data pre-processing or post-processing steps, the data structures that they're using, the types of data that they're using for training, and the data and the training process itself. So these are some of the points that I keep in mind while harvesting AI inventions.
Sorry, yeah. That's good to hear, Sminu, on how you support your inventors, and I'm sure your recommendations, would help our viewers also today. It will benefit all of us. Yeah. Now listening to Vandana and Sminu on harvesting ideas, like I would move to Shruti. I'm curious to know, we harvest so many inventions, and AI-based inventions when you're talking about. Does all this invention make it to patent application? What are the factors that you consider when harvesting ideas when it comes to decision making, or for that matter, even the patentability aspect? Could you share your views on it?
Certainly, Dikshitha. You raised a very important question that how many of them actually do get converted into patents, because we may get IDs by the bulk, but for several reasons, the company may not want to protect all of them. Like Vandana said, some of them could be trade secret material. Some of them could be rather falling into, it's better to keep it under wraps within the company, or as a copyright, you can file it. So there are several things involved in it. So I think the business unit's point of view is mainly about the budget involved, what is their roadmap, so on and so forth. But purely talking from the IP perspective, I would stick to the patentability aspect, because this is a rather vague thing to answer how many do get converted into patents. If you take a step back and at the harvesting stage, if you reflect on the kind of interactions we have with the inventors, the common terms that stand out in any AI/ML based invention are machine learning, deep learning, reinforcement learning, natural language processing, or even chatbots. The chatbot space is fast coming up now. If you go back and Google the definitions of all these terms, the common theme that runs through these is mimicking of human brain activity. What we called in the patent world as mental act, inventions related to mental act, which is essentially abstract in nature and therefore not patentable. I would like to make a quick reference here to the rather infamous case of Alice versus CLS Bank in the USA, where the Supreme Court, US Supreme Court's controlling decision that was ruled was basically a patent eligible claim to an invention must not be abstract in nature and must be inventive enough, and it should go above and beyond an abstract idea. Now, what it basically means is in an invention, there should be enough meat on the bone, which sort of does not reflect it as a mere wishful thinking. That's what they essentially tried to say. Unfortunately, Alice left the very definition of abstract rather abstract. It was, and it still continues to be a moving target I would say at least in US, as per my experience. So what is not patent eligible was much more clear when the Alice decision came out. And that was a claim that performs a pre-existing or a known process is not patent eligible. A claim that can be performed in the human mind is not eligible. And most significantly, a claim that has an algorithm per se, that recites an algorithm which can be implemented on a regular PC is also not patent eligible. Now, most of our AI patents being software centric, they fall in this last category of being implemented on a regular PC. However, I feel it is not all lost cause because in 2016 there was another decision that came out, and that is why I say it's continuously moving target, where it was Enfish versus Microsoft. And when that case was closed, it was to much relief. It was clear that software can make non-abstract changes to computers the way hardware does. So, this is where we can take advantage of the Enfish ruling decision, and we can ensure three things while harvesting inventions: whether the invention is resulting in an improved speed or accuracy of the computer, whether it is resulting in an ability that helps the computer do things which it was not able to do in the past, and whether it is reducing the existing requirement of computer resources. So I feel these three things are very important. One quick example on an invention revolving around these three things could be a smart cities example, where a fire department can implement an AI engine, an AI ML based engine, which helps them optimize the medical response of the team even before they reach on the premise. So at the time an SOS call is made to the fire department, the AI engine helps take into account several factors like the weather conditions in the location from where the SOS call is made, the wind velocity, the number of people residing in the location, so on and so forth. And the medical response the medical team can already optimize their response. So, you're not only the computer or the fire department's system is able to do something they were not doing in the past, but this is also resulting in optimization of the resources required, the computers as well as the human resources in this case. So if these three things are ensured at the very beginning, I feel we can get good inventions which are majorly patentable. There are a lot of other factors, but I think these are the three main things I would like to touch upon. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Shruti. You actually gave us an insight on the case law also with respect to abstract ideas, and of course the patentability factor, you addressed that as well. Now, what was interesting for me was the example in the area of autonomous smart city, which you mentioned. It was very interesting. And also, yes, I agree with the accuracy of the output of these AI inventions. This makes me ask Vandana, when it comes to drafting applications, especially in the field of life and medical science, I know that accuracy is the utmost, thing, even when it comes to training data or the invention output. It is very important. Do you see any challenge when it comes to drafting and prosecuting your application?
Yeah, so when it comes to drafting of patent applications related to the field of healthcare, we see an increase in the trend of AI-based inventions, particularly let's say in the detection of diagnostic biomarkers, medical image processing techniques, AI-enhanced clinical decision making, so on and so forth. So these are some of the areas. But actually, in most of these inventions, there is heavy use of software algorithms, particularly for classification, clustering. There's something related to regression, dimensionality reduction. So all of these, these factors can be viewed as abstract ideas, of course, and therefore I feel it is very important to bring out the additional element, the additional element factor in patent claims, which enables overcoming the abstract idea-based objections. So one factor would be abstract idea, and what can we do to overcome that, in furtherance to what Shruti was also stating, just before me. Dikshitha, to address your point of accuracy related factors, I think it is important to bring out, in the detailed description, what are the advantages associated with the introduction of AI model in that invention. Let's say there's an increase in the accuracy. So to what extent is that improvement happening? Or maybe there is overall decrease in the time taken. In the medical field, it is very important that the results are very quick, so as to save lives of people, or make lives of people better. So I think if there are some advantages related to reduction in the time taken for the overall result to be output, all those factors need to be introduced very clearly in the detailed description. Why I also say this is because this also may add to the technical effect, that needs to be brought out in not just in the independent claim, but also describing somehow in the detailed description, because there has to be support in the detailed description in that particular aspect. So the identification of what exactly is the technical purpose and how is that being covered in the detailed description is of utmost importance. So in that regard, I think providing very clear definitions of what exactly is the input data that is being fed into the AI models, what would be the output data that is generated, what is the relationship between these input and output data. As Sminu was also suggesting before me, if there are any steps related to pre-processing or post-processing of the data sets, I think such level of information also needs to be included in the detailed description. One more factor would be on how the model is trained, because indicating just what type of data sets are used to train the model is not sufficient, or just providing what model is used or what AI model is used also is not sufficient. I think intricate details of how the model functions when such data sets is provided to it, how exactly does it interact with those data sets to provide an effective set of output data is really important. And this particularly reflects on the enablement requirements, or even on the sufficiency of disclosure requirements with the EPO. In this particular regard, I'd like to cite a case of Ariad Pharmaceuticals versus Eli Lilly, which clearly suggested that a description of an invention in the patent must enable any person skilled in the art to which it pertains, or which it is most nearly connected to, and it should enable the person skilled in the art to make and use the invention based on the kind of information that is present in the detailed description. So I think these are the factors, particularly with regard to content sufficiency, which are required to be addressed. One more factor that I'd like to that comes to my mind is on the validation or the verification of the AI model. Since we are talking about the accuracy, I think that level of information also requires addressing in the detailed description, because that provides support on what also are the advantages, or how effectively is the invention functioning when it gets implemented in the product. Some of the best practices additionally that I use in my patents is to also include certain exemplary embodiments in the detailed description, and try to draft the claim from the point of view of use cases rather than the technical implementation of the invention. So I think addressing where the AI model is being used is more gives us a better protection than how exactly is the AI model functioning, which somehow may step into the ambit of abstract idea, and can be quite tricky in the area of during the stage of prosecution. I mean, so I think use case based clarity or use case based protection scope in the claims would be much more effective, and these exemplary embodiments would further enable the examiner to visualize the specific implementation of the invention in the technical field. So these are some of the points that I try to keep in mind while drafting patents related to inventions in the medical field.
Yeah. All right, Vandana, that your experience on drafting, I think various application of medical science gave us. I mean, you gave your 2 cents on this. Of course, your recommendation also is very valid. Vandana, you mentioned that it's very important that we include one exemplary embodiment, to make our patent application even stronger, so that we can support it when it comes to prosecution. So it's basically also bringing out the clarity in when drafting an application. Yeah. Thank you. So, Shruti, what are your views when it comes to sufficiency of disclosure in patent application? Or maybe you see any concerns in prosecuting further these applications?
Right. So Vandana brought out a very important point regarding the person skilled in the art. Sufficiency of disclosure is essentially enabling the person skilled in the art to replicate the invention with whatever general knowledge he has, ordinary knowledge. Having said that, there are different types of AI inventions. So bringing in the clarity or bringing in sufficiency of disclosure, the patent attorney may want to take different approaches based on the kind of AI invention that is being drafted. So I'm glad Vandana already spoke about the training data angle and how many details of the V&V verification, validation, etc. Apart from that, I feel there are two other types of AI inventions. One could be around just the core AI technology. These are largely mathematical in nature, these inventions. And then there is one more type, which is mainly around embedded AI, where it's a trained model which is being deployed in a new field of application. There is not much in the AI core that is happening over here. So the AI is largely a black box, but it is the way it is being implemented into a particular application. So especially to talk about this third category of embedded AI, I feel in order to make the application strong, because no matter how much you're going to interrogate your inventors, you're not going to get much regarding the AI aspect from them. So what they can provide is mainly around how they are extending it to the particular application. So here I feel it is very important to focus on the input parameters and the output parameters that this AI black box is providing. And also knowing what is it that you're trying to restrict the scope of the claim to. So is it a specific configuration of the input? Just to give you one quick example in the autonomous vehicles application, if there is a trained model being used in the AVs that relies on a certain set of inputs, perhaps a global positioning system, a particular light detection and ranging system, that is your LiDAR sensors, or a certain category of accelerometers, and how these inputs are going to enable each other. What is the first input that is going to come in and how the other input changes. So this very specific configuration itself that you are proposing could help you distinguish your invention from the ones that are already existing in the field. Let's face it that these are all incremental inventions. Like Sminu already mentioned that there is much already done and dusted in this field. So any and every detail that you include around the input and output, also at the output stage, how the output would change in different scenarios. What would the AV face when it is running on road? And would that result in a change in the way the inputs are taken and the way the output is given? So all these scenarios need to be covered in your patent application. I feel that could help to some extent in ensuring that there is sufficiency of disclosure in there. One more point I would like to say over here is when we talk about all these mainly AI/ML inventions, the definitions should not be taken as it is from what we see textbook definitions or Google definitions mainly, because they are rather broad in what they encompass. Those definitions need to be boiled down to what you're trying to patent, what you're trying to protect, and then they need to be termed around the scope of protection. So this is one thing I follow. And the last thing would be giving an end-to-end example. I think Vandana already spoke about it. So just keep your claim steps ready on one side and ensure that the example that you're giving is mapping to each and every step that is there in the claim. And make sure you have real world data in that so that it looks much more tangible when the examiner is reading it. Right. So these are some things I follow.
Yeah, that was good, Shruti. Yeah. You shed some light on autonomous vehicle also, how you draft or prosecute this application. Moving to Sminu, in the field of simulation and digital twin, I understand Siemens is filing a lot of application in this technology area. What kind of an objections that you receive on your patent application, and could you throw some light on any specific jurisdiction that you handle, maybe?
Sure. So since my experience in prosecuting AI-based applications has been mainly with the EPO, I have observed that the rejections are mainly around three aspects. First is patentability, as Vandana and Shruti had already pointed out. Second is novelty, and third is inventive step. And of course, there is sufficiency of disclosure as well. So when it comes to patentability, as Shruti had pointed out, it can be considered as an abstract idea. Yet another aspect is that AI can be considered as a mathematical function, which makes your invention more of a mathematical method. So here my recommendation would be to try and clarify the technical features of the invention in the claims as far as possible. So the technical features could be technical elements or hardware aspects maybe of your invention. For example, you could talk about what are the sensors that are involved, where are you collecting the data from, what are the controllers involved, are there any actuators involved. So these are some of the aspects that you can focus on while claiming such inventions. So these are basically embedded AI inventions, as Shruti already spoke about. Now, secondly, when it comes to novelty and inventive step, I can share my experience based on a digital twin application that I drafted last year. So for viewers who are new to the term digital twin is a virtual representation of your asset. So basically, your asset can be your maybe your motor, it could be turbines, it could be your car, it could be anything. So basically, if I have to give an example, maybe I have a motor installed in a remote location and I have to monitor it sitting in the comfort of my home. I can view my motor's digital twin on my laptop or my mobile and observe how my motor is working in real time. So that is how digital twins work. Now, AI is definitely a core component of digital twins. Now, coming back to the patent application that I had drafted last year, it was around the use of digital twins for monitoring health conditions of a motor. So, as you know, when it comes to prosecution, examiners would typically look at certain keywords in your claims, and they would run a search to see if there is any prior art. Now, if my patent application is not precise enough, or if it is too broad, and if there is another patent that describes monitoring health condition of a motor using an AI model, given the fact that digital twins are basically based on AI models, the examiner is very likely to cite that as a prior art and give a novelty rejection. So this is especially in jurisdictions such as Europe. Now, I can give a few recommendations from this experience of mine. So for inventions where AI is only a part of it, that is for embedded AI-based inventions, you can try to explain how the AI brings about a technical effect or a technical advantage over existing prior art. Now, coming to core AI inventions, it can be slightly tricky. So here, my advice would be to explain in detail as to how the AI model works with examples in the detail. Focus on how the AI model transforms a given input data set to an output data. And you can even try to have a claim around this aspect of data transformation. Again, I would like to reiterate the importance of sufficiency of disclosure, though Vandana and Shruti already spoke about it in detail. So if you don't have enough support in your description, you will have a tough time defending your patent application. So my advice would be to try and have as many fallbacks as possible in the description. It could be around the data pre-processing or post-processing steps, types of training data, specific modifications to the training algorithm that you're introducing. So for all of these, you need to have a thorough dialogue with your inventor to understand the invention fully. You should be asking on how the invention works. Now, as Vandana had already highlighted one of the case laws related to sufficiency of disclosure, I had come across a case law a few weeks back. So this was a European case law. And for viewers who are interested in understanding more about this case law, you can search for it on eSpaceNet under Article 83 EPC case laws. So there was this Austrian company by the name Zybersdorf that had filed a patent application with the EPO 2 years ago. And the patent application was initially rejected by the EPO for a lack of inventive steps. So that is under Article 56 EPC. The applicant was unable to convince the examiner whatsoever. So eventually he went to the EPO Technical Board of Appeals. But again, the Board of Appeals refused the patent application, citing Article 83 and Article 56 EPC. So Article 83 is sufficiency of disclosure related clause. And it is similar to your enablement requirement in the US. Now, the board actually found out that the patent application was described in a very generic fashion. As Shruti had rightly pointed out, it included only textbook definitions. So with very generic information on what kind of training data is used. Now, if you don't know what training data you should use for training your AI model, how will you guarantee that it will provide the desired results? Now, again, this patent application also failed to describe the best mode of performing the invention. Now, this is a mistake that most of us make. We try to cover everything under the sun, but we may not provide exemplary embodiments or best mode. Now, since the applicant didn't give specifics on what training data is used to train the model, a person skilled in the art will not be able to replicate or make use of the invention. So that leads to insufficiency of disclosure under Article 83. And the person skilled in the art, since he cannot replicate the invention will fail to have a technical effect, which subsequently leads to a lack of inventive step under Article 56 EPC. So these are some of my observations when it comes to prosecuting before the EPO.
Thank you, Sminu. That was quite a set of information you gave us. I think there's an echo. Yes, because it's mute your mic. Yeah, that was quite a set of information and interesting to and how you made a digital twin sound very simple. Yeah, we are in this era that we can control everything, sitting remotely, and that's all about, that's AI. Yes, prior art is something, a common prior art raised by the examiners when it comes to prosecution. It's very common, Could you tell if you have any experience or if you keep some factors in mind when drafting, to overcome these prior arts? Is there something that you can tell the viewers, for our viewers today?
Certainly. I will bank on what Sminu just spoke in the EPO practice especially, and she mentioned Article 56. So yes, this is a very common objection that we may get while prosecuting AI/ML based inventions. Article 56 is mainly about successfully navigating the inventive step requirements, right? So what I would like to touch upon is when we are prosecuting the applications at EPO, there is a three-step approach or the problem solution approach, as they call it. And in that, there are three major steps, starting with the important one of determining the closest prior art. Now, although this is an approach that we opt for during prosecution, I feel it is very important to keep this in mind at the very stage when we are harvesting inventions. So sometimes it happens due to lack of time or due to lack of the landscapes that Vandana had, the good point that was brought up. Due to lack of enough state-of-the-art available, we rely on whatever is given by the inventors as background, and we limit to only that much being disclosed. But whether you disclose it in the patent application or not, it is very important for the patent attorney to be aware of which is the closest prior art. Because this not only prepares one to what is going to come their way in the examination report, but it also helps in creatively crafting the objective technical problem. Because without closest prior art, you cannot define the objective technical problem that you're going to be addressing. And unless there is a good objective technical problem based on the state of the art that is there, you cannot go forward and you cannot talk about the could-would test that comes in later, where we generally say that under the could-would test, we ask not whether the person skilled in the art could have arrived at the invention based on what is disclosed, but whether the prior art incites him to arrive at the invention, as in, would he have arrived at the invention? So this is very important. I feel knowing about the closest state of the art would go a long way in prosecuting the applications. And that is why one should invest time and effort in doing their background study, as is the case with any other project, One small example in the times of Corona that I can give is because I spoke of the harvesting stage, how it can be helpful at that very stage itself. In the times of Corona, everybody's talking about vaccines, so I'll give a short example on that. Maybe you're talking to an inventor and they propose a system, an AI/ML-based engine that predicts demand of the vaccine based on the active number of Corona cases in their area. Also based on the number of queries that are being put into the engine. And using these parameters, the AI engine is, giving a recommendation that the vaccine demand is in, so many percentage. The scale of demand is given. Now, if you don't ask the, further questions to the inventor and you try and protect only this much, it is most probably going to face not just the Article 56 objections, but it may also invite the patentability related objections because it looks like an abstract idea, just predicting demand. But if you are able to extend this invention together with the inventor to tie it to an AI element which is deployed in the factory setup where the vaccine is being manufactured, such that this can go as an input to the factory's AI engine, and the dynamic ramp up, ramp down of the production can be, ensured in this case. Or even further, not just the ramp up, ramp down, but together with it, the sourcing of materials that is required for producing the vaccine, that itself can be adjusted such that they get it at the best price much ahead of time. So you see, it's a larger picture now. We are not just banking on the demand prediction, but we are going much ahead and looking at the bigger picture here, while keeping it technical in nature, not just exploding it out of proportion. So I feel reiterating the point, knowing the closer state of the art is very important to circumvent the inventiveness and at times patentability objections also. Thank you.
Wonderful, Shruti. Yes, and as I think this is also connecting to where I started in the beginning. I said that even though the economic growth is diminishing, our focus on maximizing the AI based related to Corona is actually increasing. That's exactly where you connected. Thank you for that. Yeah. Now that we heard all our three speakers talk about the processes that are involved and their experience from picking up inventions and drafting and then prosecuting, I would like to know, considering now how you get your patents granted. That's a secret that was shared. Let me ask Sminu, considering you have a granted patent, AI-based granted patent, what is the in enforcing this inventions in the product, maybe?
Okay. So when it comes to enforcing AI patents, the main challenge would be as to how you would prove an infringement in the first place. So it is not straightforward because AI models are dynamic in nature. They're not easy to reverse engineer either. So they keep evolving. The more data you feed into it, they keep changing. They keep on evolving and updating. And it may occur that at some point of time, somebody may infringe on your invention. So basically, if the infringer has come up with an AI model which is similar to yours, it is the infringement may be very transient in nature. So that makes it all the more difficult to prove the infringement. Now, for this, we may require some special discovery process for identifying such infringements. And here, as a precautionary measure, maybe we should try to bank on detectable claims in our patents. So that is, you should be having claims that help in proving such infringements. Normally, while drafting claims, we may overlook, the importance of such detectable claims. So the claim should, maybe it could include aspects on the structure or nature of the input data or the output data. It could include elements about the structure of the AI model itself, and maybe the processing steps. So I feel if you have such claims already, then the discovery process also becomes easier when it comes to enforcing your patent. Yeah, that's it from my end.
Yes, yes. Thank you, Sminu. Yes, Shruti, when it comes to the IP laws, when especially to the AI-based patent application, in for that matter, any jurisdiction, what do you think? What are your views when it comes to IP laws?
Right. To come out straightforward with what I feel with the IP laws is that there is enough scope for groundbreaking revolution or path-breaking revolution to happen in this area. The IP5, the big patent offices are they're showing that they are taking efforts towards this direction. But even the regional patent offices, like Indian Patent Office, if they follow suit with the UK PTO, which very recently, just a month ago, invited views from the stakeholders about what should be the changes in IP laws in view of AI. So if they also do some similar activities, it would be very good for people who are investing into IP and would like to continue the investment, companies like us. The problem that I see is we are still stuck on things like CRI related inventions, computer related inventions. How do we make sure that pure software gets patented? And in this, we are not able to see the technologies like AI, which are bringing very specific challenges along with them. So unless we jump this hurdle of CRI inventions, we are not going to be able to reach this AI, blockchain, all these different technologies and what the laws need to be changed around these. So I feel that this is one thing that needs to be done. And secondly, also the time that is taken in the entire prosecution process, as well as, from the filing to grant, the number of years that are taken. I know that there are things like PPH coming into picture, but the very 18 months publication period, that restricts us from identifying clauses prior art, unless it's published in some other fashion, but it's going to limit our understanding of what is up to date in the technology area, in the space of AI. So that is another thing. And last but not the least, it would be interesting to see how the inventor-based laws are being tackled, because very soon AI is going to start inventing, and the companies would want to protect it. I don't know under whose name, but yeah, that is something that it would be interesting to see.
Yes, Shruti, you're right. Actually, AI itself inventing, coming up with invention is actually a big topic by itself, and it would be interesting for us to know more. But yeah, what I understand from you is, yes, having these laws develop, and there's a long way to go for for the IP laws, for the development of IP laws. I can say, there is a vast scope still. We look forward for that, when you said that AI itself is inventing, Vandana, do you have anything to? What are your views on it? AI itself inventing.
Yeah. So yeah, I agree with Shruti, and also your views that with changing times, I personally feel that we are already in an era where AI itself is capable of generating new inventions. Now, almost a year ago, the European Patent Office announced its refusal to examine two patent applications which designated an AI system as an inventor. And EPO rejected these applications on the formal ground of failure to fulfill the requirement of the European Patent Convention that an inventor designated in the application has to be a human being and not a machine. And shortly before this, we also saw WIPO calling for comments, raising the question on how the patent law and policy should react to inventions which are autonomously generated by AI. Similarly, there were some requests for comments coming in from USPTO also on addressing some similar issues. Now, when we talk about AI itself generating new inventions, I feel there are some questions which remain open and which require quick addressing. Things like what is the scope of AI generated inventions? To what extent can we say something that is generated by AI is patentable and what is not? Should the definition of who exactly is an inventor should it be changed considering the changing times? Shruti brought out a very valid point, as to the laws soon becoming old and irrelevant in the case of AI generating new inventions, and particularly in case of co-inventorship between AI and human, it can definitely happen that there is some human contribution coming in, and of course the other part is contributed by AI, and in such case it remains unclear what is the degree of AI involvement that should be considered as prejudicial for recognizing a human as an inventor. So I think that sort of questions or that sort of concerns are required to be addressed sooner rather than later, because we are already there, and it is only going to, such inventions generated by AI are only going to increase from here on. Of course, needless to say, there are also certain legal implications that are arising out of such inventions, particularly from enforceability point of view. What will be considered as an infringement, and if at all an AI ends up using your invention, who exactly can be held responsible for patent infringement, and can the onus be vicariously transferred to humans or organizations that are associated with with the AI, so on and so forth. So I think there is definitely a need for communities to come together and discuss on these aspects and build new policies and give edge paths for new laws to come in and take these factors into consideration, because it's soon going to be a challenge for all of us. Yeah, so these are my views when it comes to AI being an inventor.
Thank you, Vandana. Yes, there are so many open-ended questions as to who's going to own it, whose name it's going to be, and the technology is only fast moving, and I think that everybody needs to buckle up, speed up with a development that's required when it comes to law or even protecting AI inventions. Yeah, very interesting. Coming to now, what I understand is, it's not only the best practices and focusing on getting a patent. It would be interesting to see AI-based patents stand valid in the court of law. And it is obvious that there are too many challenges brought by AI itself, and there is a gap between the reality and the regulation. My second important question second question what we have in front of us is whether generated by AI missions can be protected. Maybe we look forward in sharing our views in future events. Maybe this would be a topic in itself. Okay, and now I would like to thank all our speakers, for spending time and taking time to share their views from their experience. I'm sure it's going to help a lot of IT professionals who are, watching us now live. Yeah. I would like to end this session with a quote from, Nick Bostrom. He he quotes, machine intelligence is the last invention that humanity will ever need to make. We need to find out that. So we would now end the session. Thank you everyone for patiently listening to us, and take care and stay safe. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye.